Hey guys, this week we are talking about keeping hosts happy, our trip to Venetian, listener questions, and more, so stick around. This episode is sponsored by Cove Security. Get started today at crapvegas.com/Cove.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 58 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Josh, what's new?
We're literally one day back from Vegas. Even Chris, whose flight left at 12:55 a.m. on Tuesday, technically got home from Vegas yesterday as we're recording this.
That is right. For all those people that doubted me and said, no, he'll be out of there way before then, I was officially there until Tuesday morning.
It was close, but he was officially there until Tuesday. So I think this might be one of the first times we've recorded so fresh coming off a trip.
And it's a good thing, Josh, because when we were talking about a couple of things we needed to make sure that we mention about the trip, I had already forgotten half of them.
Yes. We're hoping that we'd record soon so we could remember those things. I took some notes. Chris took some notes, but we'll still forget half of the things.
Yeah, that's good. But everything else going good out there, Josh?
Yeah, everything's great. We're gearing up to, I think I mentioned it before, send our daughter off to summer camp. And so just one thing after another coming up. And then before you know it, she's going to be off to a new school and all that kind of stuff. How about you?
Yeah, everything's going well. I will say, Josh, this is the first Vegas trip that I can remember in a while, other than the Aria trip in like February, where we did really well.
Right.
That when I got home, I was pretty much ready to get back to Vegas.
Yeah, Chris was actually considering going this weekend on a little solo trip. I think he's not going to.
I'm not 100% sure still, but if there's a Patreon episode that comes out next week talking about a mysterious trip, now you know what it was.
That's right. So I'll say the same thing, though. I'm not going this weekend. That's not going to happen, but I am already thinking about the next trip. In fact, we've got Chris's birthday trip lined up, and I made sure I nailed down the dates, and I've got to email our host and all that kind of stuff and get that set up. Because, yeah, both of us are, not to give away the end, but both of us are excited to get back to Vegas already, which means it didn't go terribly.
Well, we are, and when we record this episode today, we are going to talk mostly about our days at Venetian, the beginning of the trip. There's no way we can cover the whole trip in one episode, so this is going to be split in two. The bad part of that is the Venetian part was not good for us financially. It just finished well at Aria, so this is the more negative of the two from a gambling perspective.
Play the sad music again?
Yeah, you might want to underlay the sad violin music underneath me talking about our horrible trip that we had. But the actual events that we did and meals and everything else were terrific, and we have a ton to talk about.
We sure do.
So let's tell people what happened. But before we do that, Josh, we got to tell them how to get a hold of us. You can send us an email. That is podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us on our Facebook group. That's crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail that we won't listen to. crapvegas.com/voicemail. Or the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crap Vegas.
I had this brilliant idea that we would call into the voicemail line while we were, like drunk in Vegas and leave a message that we would play on the show, and I completely forgot about it. So unless you recorded a voicemail.
I did not. So maybe next trip, Josh.
And you probably didn't check. So even if you had, you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't even know that I sent it to myself.
Right.
I was so drunk, I didn't even know. Okay, previous episode feedback. We received an email from Ian. Ian says, "Gentlemen, love the show, longtime listener and recent patron with my brother. I appreciate what you guys do. I was listening to episode 36 in which you talk about not wanting to disappoint your host and how being hosted makes you play more. I can totally relate. Recently got hosted for the first time and I like it. Here's my question. I'm hosted at Circa. Sorry, Chris, I love sports betting. I guess I can forgive you here because you're a sports bettor, but at the same time, no, I still don't think it's good, but host is nice and always gets me the room I want, but really nothing else that I couldn't get on marketing offers. He says, I've never really asked for anything though. I do like being hosted and want her to like me. When I'm hosted, I make sports bets on her behalf and I give her a tip at Christmas, etc. So she should. I recently lost a decent amount for downtown, roughly $10,000, on a trip which should get me some decent offers on a future visit. I'm coming to Vegas in July for an event at the South Point and staying at Venetian with my brother on a comp offer. My comps are decent at Circa, $500 in free play, $250 in food, and we want to go to the pool one day, so I'm going to book a room for a couple nights there too. We're also going to Oscar's dinner series at the Plaza, so would like to be close to that. Here's the real question. I really don't plan to play much, certainly not as much as last time at Circa. I don't want my host to be unhappy that she booked a room and I didn't play, but I also don't want her to be unhappy to find out in the future that I booked through a marketing offer, not through her. I'm not worried about back-end comps. If you were going to know or low play a property, but you know you'll be back playing heavily in the future, would you just book through marketing, or would you use your host and let them know you won't be gambling much? Or would you just forget about the comps, pay $25 to get into Stadium Swim, and not even stay there at all? Love the show. Hope to meet you guys in Vegas one day. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. That's a great question. Lots of stuff in there. I think, Chris, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't do the third option for sure. I wouldn't forego the comps and just pay the $25. I mean, to me,
that's exactly what I would recommend.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
So go ahead with your response. Let me hear what you have to say here.
Well, I think first of all, it depends on, you said you don't want to burn your host. You like your host. You want her to like you. So I think if it were me in this situation, I would probably, and I have done this, and admittedly a little different relationship with host probably, but I like the idea of reaching out to the host and asking them, saying, hey, this is going to be a low play trip, or even no play. I probably wouldn't say that, but I'd say, I might not be gambling at the same level. I'm happy to book with you if you'd like. I'm also happy to use my corporate offer if that would be easier, if it makes any difference at all, and see what she says. I think when you talk about your host wanting to like you, that's another way of getting that to happen. You're having this conversation with your host and getting, I can't remember if he said, I think you said it to her, getting her opinion on how to go forward. That's my thought. What do you think, Chris? You said that you'd rather pay the money.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm thinking it from this perspective, Josh. If he has limited play history with this place, which it kind of sounds like he does,
right?
Then a low or no play against the few trips he have may be a lot. It may cause offers to significantly decrease. I don't know how much the host wants to go above and beyond, because he already said the host doesn't go above the marketing offer.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely going to lower your marketing offer. That's almost a guarantee. I mean, because the host has no control over the actual offer itself. So that being said, for me, it would be a choice between having a discussion with the host about my intentions, or in this case, if he literally just wants to access the pool, why burn a room and go through that mess?
Well, that's true.
If the whole point's just the pool.
Yeah,
just
if that's all you're going to do.
Move on.
Yeah, I get your point, Chris. I still think, I mean, if all you're going to do is go to the pool, then just pay the money. But if you think you might want to have a room there, I'd ask the host, and she may say this is going to impact your play or that kind of thing.
I mean, in all actuality, if you go there a decent chunk and you have a good history with them, it won't have much of an effect at all if your host is doing anything above and beyond. Josh has done this many times where he was going to low play him on a trip or even no play him, and he let him know in advance, I'm going to do this. They still absolutely booked the room. They still sent all the special stuff.
Right.
And yeah, it was still a great event. It really hasn't affected future offers. But yeah, that's just something you have to know what your position is with that host and what they think about you, and if you want to take a chance of potentially lowering your offers.
Right.
We received an email from Darby. Darby said, I've newly discovered this podcast and been loving it. I've noticed, though, not just specific to this podcast, but most Vegas-related podcasts have minimal female presence, at least related to questions or voicemails. My husband and I are big Vegas fans, but I often see that the men are mostly at tables. Makes it a little intimidating. My go-to games are craps and blackjack, planning our next trip for the end of June. Any recommendations for a decent low-roller craps table? We like $25 minimums or less. Thank you for the email, Darby, to start.
Definitely.
I will say, Josh, maybe it's just me, but I think we have more female listeners than probably any game, like Vegas-related podcast I've seen.
Yeah, it sure seems like that. We're just anecdotally based on the feedback we get and our patrons and that kind of thing, but it seems like that too. So thanks, Darby, for finding us and enjoying the show. First of all, I would say you're right in that table games players do seem to be predominantly male. I don't know
especially craps.
Yeah, especially crap. Yeah, especially craps. I mean, it's probably 80-90% most of the time. And I applaud you for being willing to jump in and that kind of thing. And Chris, I'm thinking for a reasonable table limits, if we're talking on strip, and Darby, I don't know if you said on the strip or not, but Chris and I have raved about Planet Hollywood. And Planet Hollywood, I know in the mornings you can still find occasionally $10 games, but you can pretty easily find 15 and almost always at least 25. So that's what I think would be a great starting point. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Planet Hollywood is a great place to start. And I would say, heck, if you want to, you could even, if you want to go a little bit more upscale, you could go to Venetian. Venetian always has $25 tables. Always. Yeah. And usually in the mornings, it's no problem finding a $15 table. And that will give you a more, luxurious experience
Right.
if you want to play up to that level.
And really, $25 these days is not that hard to find, even at most places. Not often at Wynn, maybe, but almost everywhere else you can find 25 or less. So it's really a question of if you feel more comfortable at like a $15 level, that's where you have to be a little more picky. But you can almost find 25 anywhere.
Yeah, I would say as long as you exclude Bellagio and Wynn most of the time,
Right.
you're pretty safe. But even with Wynn, you can usually go to Encore and find
That's
a
true
$25
too, yeah.
table. So, I think those are the two properties I'd be a little concerned about. But yeah, Josh gave a great recommendation. Planet Hollywood's it's a great place to play. The dealers are terrific. Everybody's very friendly. Love the vibes there. But yeah, if you're just looking for a $15 game, you can find that pretty much anywhere around that area without issue.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Darby.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Josh, we received an email from Amber, another female. So that's 2 out of 3 questions this week, which makes me think that, we just are a female heavy, or maybe they just are the ones that wanted to send the questions.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That's what the song says. Amber says, love the show and can't wait for the next episode. Well, you don't have to wait much longer. Really loved your discussion about non-gambling related things to do in Vegas. I usually take 2 trips a year, and one is strictly non-gambling while the other is only gambling. I guess I like to compartmentalize. My question, if having a casino didn't matter and gambling was not on the docket for you, what do you think are the nicest hotels in Vegas? Thanks for the show, Amber.
I still think Wynn. And maybe, although I haven't been there much, maybe the Waldorf Astoria, Four Seasons, kind of just talking about nicest hotels, not casino properties. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think maybe even throw in Vidara there because you can get some really spacious rooms and units.
You're right about Vidara. I just don't think it's, when I was there, it's nice. The rooms are nice, but it's dated a little bit. They haven't done, I don't think they've done some of the preventive maintenance or some of the upgrades.
But honestly, though, I think at the end of the day, Josh, the nice resorts that you're thinking of that have great gambling, that's probably the place you want to go anyways.
Yeah, that's what I would say, Amber.
I'm not going to add anything to my list that just because they don't have a casino.
Right. Wynn is still always great.
Hilton Garden Vacations. That's where you want to go.
I've stayed there.
There you go. Okay, Josh, I think that's enough for episode feedback and questions from that. So let's move on to the main topic. Josh, as we said earlier, you and I just got back from Vegas. We split our trip into halves. We did one half at Venetian and we did another half at Aria. So this episode, we thought we'd focus on the Venetian portion of the trip. That was Friday through Sunday. And Josh, it started off a little rough for you that morning when we first arrived.
Yeah, I have a relatively new host at Venetian. Chris had this host before and gave the host to me to use, and the host has been wonderful. But we had a little bit of a fall in the sense of, so I flew into Vegas super early in the morning. We talked about it. I was eager to go. I could get first class fairly inexpensively. So I took a flight that landed in Vegas at like 8:30 in the morning on Friday.
Yeah.
I had told our host and she had set up transportation. So I got down. The way the Venetian does it is they have sometimes it's Venetian drivers, sometimes it's Bell, right, Chris?
Yeah, Bell Transportation has some of it.
Yeah, and I go down the escalator into baggage claim. I'm looking around. There's all the drivers with signs, and I can't find one that says my name. And I go down to the baggage carousel for ours and still no. So I finally found a driver that had a Venetian, something that indicated it was Venetian. And I said, can you, here's who I am and can you check? Anyway, long story short, they completely dropped the ball on having a ride for me. And I was texting Chris at this time. And of course, I haven't gotten any sleep. I got like 3 hours sleep. I'm grumpy. There's no transportation for me. I texted the host before she's even on duty and said,
it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't think she starts till like 1 o'clock.
What's the deal? You're supposed to have transportation for me. Anyway, she very much apologized, was very responsive, apologized. Before she responded, I'd called the Venetian, VIP desk or whatever. And they said, we don't have a record of it. They said, we can send someone, but it'll be a little bit. I ended up just taking a taxi. Probably cost me $5 more than I would have tipped altogether on the limo ride. So it wasn't the end of the world. I got over it pretty quickly. But then I got to the hotel at whatever time it was, 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, and no room, which I hadn't expected.
I was going to say, if you had expected the room to be ready at 9 a.m., I'm not sure what to tell you. There's only one place in Vegas that I know of that would have had the room ready, and you weren't staying there.
No.
Okay, so Josh, you get to the hotel, your room's not ready, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I arrive until like 11:30 or so.
Yeah, I had about 2.5 hours to kill, yeah.
So what did you do? Check your bags and just walk around, hang out somewhere? What was the plan?
So Chris and I, have access to the VIP lounge now at Venetian, which is super cool. So I sat down there, do some work emails. Next thing I know, the server comes in and asked me if I wanted some cookies.
I mean, how can you turn down cookies?
I know. I sent Chris a picture of these beautiful. There was one chocolate chip and one like white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookie.
They look good.
Making me hungry as we're talking about it. So I had those cookies, and then I was supposed to go over to Wynn to buy a stuffed animal. Wynn has this is not a plug for Wynn, and I don't get anything back for the stuffed animal, but Wynn has a bear, a stuffed bear in a Wynn spa robe.
Okay.
And the bear is made exclusively for Wynn, it says on the foot of the bear, in France. So we have one of these at home, and we named this stuffy Robert.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a bear with a robe, and it's made in France. So it's Robert.
I got you.
It took my wife a
I'm
long
following.
My wife had until like we had this bear 6 months. She didn't figure out that whole Robert pun thing.
Who's playing with this bear, Josh?
Our kid.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And I'm fast forward a little bit, by the way. Aria in their gift shop has the exact same bear in a robe in the same box.
It's not as nice a bear. I don't think it's as nice a bear.
So what do you call that bear? Because
we don't
bear's
have
not
that
French.
bear. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Anyway, this is a long story, and I apologize, listeners. The reason I don't even remember. Oh yeah, the reason that we're getting a second bear is because we're going to send the bear off with our daughter to camp.
Okay.
We don't want to lose the original Robert, so I bought a second Robert.
Wow. First world problems you're having there, Josh.
It is. So that's what I did. So by the time I got back from Wynn, I had to go. It's 150 million degrees outside. Went across to Wynn, got the bear. Didn't see our favorite dealer, Rick, so I didn't get to say hello. And the craps table is full at Wynn, so I just hightailed it back to Venetian, and that's about when Chris arrived.
Josh, eventually later on, we did get rooms. Before we get into the gambling and the events and stuff, what were your thoughts on your room, and what type of room did you have this time?
So I think I had the room you had last time, Chris, which was a grand one-bedroom suite. It's about 1,300 square feet if the square footage online is right. It's a kind of a fun room. I didn't like it. Last time we recorded, I said I liked my room better than yours, but now having spent the weekend in that room, I like it better than the standard room.
I was going to ask you, because if it's the one I had last time, you're like, I prefer the standard room over this big suite that you had. And then all of a sudden now you stayed in, you're like, nope, changed my mind.
It's more than I need. Obviously, any of these big ones are, but it's got a bar with bar seating. It's got, refrigerator and all that kind of stuff. It's got beautiful bathrooms, and the same comments we've always had on Venetian rooms. It's just that they're a little dated. Technology is tricky. I was talking to one of our listeners over the weekend, and she's going to be staying at Venetian in a couple months, I think, and talking about technology and things. And I found a thing, Chris. I don't know if you figured it out. I was looking for USB ports and outlets and things by the bed, and I couldn't find one on the side I wanted. On the side of the phone is a USB port. So for Venetian listeners, look on the side of the phone for a USB port.
Did you not have them on your clock? Because I
didn't have the clock on that side of the bed, which was the tricky part.
Oh, it was sleep on the other side of the bed. Stop being so picky, Josh.
I like to sleep on one side of the bed.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyway.
I agree with you, though. I think overall the rooms, they're still dated. Nothing's changed in the recent past, but they are very spacious. They're well adorned. There's plenty of places to sit, nice kitchens, big tables, all the things that you can want in a room.
And I will say I had a room 3 floors above Chris.
You did.
So that made me happy, right?
But my room was also ready about 3 hours before yours was,
yes,
even though you arrived at the property 4 hours before me.
In fact, we went and put up my stuff in Chris's room, including cash in Chris's safe.
I appreciate that. And you didn't even pay me a fee to do so. I should have collected a VIG on it. Okay, so we got our rooms now, Josh. We're down at the floor. You've had your cookies. Everything's going well at this point. And we walk up and play one quick session of craps, because we really didn't have much time to gamble on Friday because we had so many things lined up for that evening.
Yeah, we sure didn't. And the crap session, as I recall, this particular one didn't go well.
Correct.
Chris and I had tried, we made a little pact beforehand that we were going to try and limit our per session craps losses. So we cut ourselves short before we lost everything and said, let's just go over. We had tickets to see Matt King, which this is the first time for me that we've seen Matt King. So Chris set this all up, picked the time. Friday was the time that was going to work best, so that's when we did it.
Yeah, no, I'd seen Matt King probably 6 or 7 times previously. I've seen him in Vegas most of the time. I also even saw him at my local casino because he's actually from Kentucky and he spends a couple weeks a year.
I can't even tell
locally
you
and does
guys
a
apart
show.
by your voices.
I know, it's pretty much, howdy, I'm Chris. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Josh, what did you think of the Matt King show in general? And let me at least set it up by saying he's now over at Excalibur in a new theater. It's the same place that they do Thunder from Down Under.
Which he makes a couple jokes about.
The theater itself is not a great layout. I don't like the situation there when it comes to seating. They have long tables. The seats are somewhat comfortable compared to some Vegas shows, but it's a small theater. The seating can be weird. There's not a lot of elevated seating areas, so viewing angles can be tough depending on where you're sitting. But at the end of the day, as an MGM member, and we paid for these tickets because we went when we were not staying at MGM. When I logged into my MGM account, I was able to get front row seats just off to the side a little bit for only $29 a piece.
Yeah, they were a great value for the seats. And as Chris said, we were front row talking about the seating again. It was a little limited. There were a few angles that I didn't have a great view of, and I think Chris was the same.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
Chris got a melon ball.
Which was not good. If you ever go to the show, do not recommend it. It was disgusting.
I had some pink drink, I can't remember what it was, or purple drink that I liked, but it was interesting because they had these as their their top 5 cocktails or whatever that they could make, but the bartender actually made mine, whereas Chris's melon ball came from a machine.
Yeah, and I should have known as soon as I saw that it was bad sign because it was absolutely horrible. And it's weird though, Josh, because it's a show that caters to all ages. Yeah. You can be a 5-year-old, and believe me, there were a bunch of
and they
little
were having
kids
a great time.
And the little kids that were 5 and 6, or the 9-year-old or 10-year-old that went up on stage and helped him was great. And then, of course, adults are having a great time, and every age in between. It truly is an amazing family show. It's one of the few in Vegas that is completely family friendly.
Yeah, I would say having a kid that likes magic, and I've thought about whether or not I would take her to Penn and Teller, and I probably wouldn't at this point.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Anybody
can go to Matt King and enjoy it. And again, Chris and I aren't getting anything out of this. There's nothing there. No. We had to pay for the tickets. Really enjoyable show. Great way to spend 90 minutes in an afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to get out of the heat, the Vegas heat, and just enjoy a show. I love it because it's a midday show. It's hard to find a 2 or 3 o'clock show that you can go to and then still enjoy your evening and have dinner plans and stuff like that. It's just a great way to break up the day at a reasonable price point. And quite frankly, Josh, I think he's one of the best magicians that you'll find in Vegas.
Oh, me too. I mean, there's some of the tricks, and I won't give much away, but like, for instance, he does the rope trick. Everybody does the rope trick. The neat thing about it is, I knew it was coming. I knew what was going to happen in the rope trick, and I'm still watching like crazy trying to see anything. I can't see a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's really good at some sleight of hand stuff and hiding things. And Penn and Teller always say he's their favorite magician, and that tells you something. And yeah, it's definitely proven in person when you're there.
And if you don't know already, he plays up the Southern kind of hick, if you will, thing. He wears a suit that he says has been handed down, this pattern from his grandmother or something. And it's a really fun shtick. And the kids that were there just seem to be eating it up too. So it's really great for everybody.
Yeah. So Josh, out of 5 stars, Matt King, what do you give him?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say 4.5, maybe 4, but really, really good.
Yeah. I'm thinking somewhere between 3.8 and 4. And the reason that it's not because of him, right? It's because of the theater setting that it's cast in. When they used to do this at Harrah's, he had a nice tiered theater where everything was quite visible. Right. You were more towards the front. I don't think this theater is very conducive to magic in general. Yeah. So I don't like that. But everything else, if you're talking value and his individual performance and everything else, it's great. But the theater really does detract.
It does, but still worth it for an afternoon.
Okay, so we wrap up there, Josh. It's around 5:15 or so when we're done with the show. And we have to hightail it over to Allegiant Stadium because our Copa America match between Brazil and Paraguay kicks off at 6.
Yes. So we had tickets from our patron, Michelle, and she couldn't go. So she gave us the tickets as we talked about last time, and off Chris and I go. And here's just a teeny bit of what we heard.
It's 103 degrees outside in Las Vegas, but tonight we are indoors at Allegiant Stadium for this Copa America Group D match between Brazil and Paraguay. The crowd's back into it. Left off there from the outside. Going inside. The chance here. Keeper out. Goal. One for Vinny Jr.
Now, of course, Josh, we didn't hear half of that because they're commentators and there's no commentators in real life. A couple things before the game even started. One, getting to Allegiant Stadium on a game day, disaster.
Yep.
It took a very long time. You have to be dropped off way away from the stadium. And when it's 105 degrees out, the last thing you want to be doing is going for a long walk in that sun.
Holy cow,
God,
is it hot.
Was miserable. That sun was blazing hot. And I will say this, there's a lot of things really nice about Allegiant Stadium. The actual entrance process of going through security and all stuff, a disaster. It was terrible. There was no rhyme or reason behind where the lines were and who was going where. People weren't directing. People were just getting in random lines because they thought they were supposed to be in the line, even if they weren't. It was a terrible process. Just scanning tickets took forever, Josh. Most theaters nowadays use the Ticketmaster RFID system where you hold it up. For some reason at Allegiant, they actually scan the barcodes, and on a super sunny day, like 105 degree day,
shield the sun.
They're trying to shield the sun, and half of them aren't reading. It was just absolutely horrible. I have never had a worse entrance into a stadium in my life.
Yeah, and I haven't been to a, other than Super Bowl, which was different. I haven't been to a game like this at Allegiant, so I don't know if this is a common thing or if something was different today, or when we went there. But yeah, as Chris said, the heat made everything 100 times worse. That was Chris and I are a little bit on the pasty side. And I was worried that I was going to get sunburned in just the time we were out there waiting to go into the stadium.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't going to take more than 10 minutes. So finally, probably about 15 minutes before game time, we were able to get into the stadium. Josh and I walked around, found where our section was, and that area kind of in the 40 to 40 yard line of a football field. All are club seating so that you have to go through a special entrance to get into the club area. So you had your own restaurants and your own bar and all that stuff. Nothing's free. Nothing's included. In fact, I will say it's the most expensive concessions I've ever seen in my life.
Mine wasn't bad. So we had nachos. Chris had chicken nachos. I had just nachos with cheese. And my nachos were like $6.99 with just cheese and chips. Chris was like $25.
I just got chicken nachos, a chicken nacho, and a bottle of water, which, by the way, they can't give you the bottle of water. They take the bottle of water and pour it into a plastic cup, which is very stupid. But anyways, the chicken nachos and a bottle of water after tip were $34.
Yeah, it was not inexpensive food. So Chris and I we were there a few minutes early, had time to eat our nachos before the game started. Mm-hmm. One of the neat things about this Modelo Club where Michelle's tickets were, we had a nice little table that we could sit and just chat while we were waiting for the game to start.
Yeah, there was plenty of seating on the inside next to the restaurants and bars. You could sit down, enjoy your food. Of course, Allegiant is climate controlled, so it's not 105 in there. If anything,
Chris didn't know.
I did not know. I thought it was open, and I was kind of curious about that.
But Chris was asking me, how long do you want to stay? Because it's really hot. This is beforehand.
Josh is like, oh, dude, it's a closed dome. I was like, I didn't know that. Anyways, so we got in there, we ate our food, we went out to our seats. Josh, we couldn't have had better seats. I mean, if we just handpicked them with no budget.
Yeah, I know I said when I went to the Super Bowl that I would maybe have picked my Super Bowl seats over any other seat in the stadium. I probably would have taken these.
Yeah, these were nice. They were about 20 rows up, dead center of the field, on the aisle. One thing, I don't know if all the seats at Allegiant are like this, Josh, because obviously we only sat in the ones that we had. Extremely comfortable padded seats.
Yeah,
and
good,
they were
good
well
space.
spaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't on top of each other. They all had armrests, cup holders, all the things you expect. Just a very comfortable seat for that period of time. On soccer matches, Josh, I do prefer to be a little bit higher up because it gives you, unfortunately in soccer, a lot of things happen in the corners of the field.
Right, that's
and
what I
when you're only
noticed
15
too.
or 20 rows up, you can kind of miss out on some of that action. Now, of course, Allegiant has large screens, so you could watch it on the screen when they were in the deep parts of the field and see what was going on. But that's the only thing I would say from a visual perspective that took away a little bit. And it's pretty much the same, Josh, when I'm going to a football game. I'd rather be 35, 40 rows up than be 10 or 15 rows up.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the funny things, so they were, as you said, Chris, they were terrific seats. All of a sudden, we see a whole bunch of people in front of us looking backwards. So up behind us, and they're kind of looking up towards the suites area. So I'm turning my head to look up there and see what are people looking at. And Chris, who are they looking at?
Yeah, Josh had no clue.
No, I didn't have any
everybody
clue. I thought it was Taylor
so
Swift
excited.
or something.
It was not Taylor Swift. It was Neymar, who is one of the best soccer players, period, Josh, nowadays. Neymar was actually not playing, as far as I know, in the Copa America. He was sitting it out. Messi gave him a very hard time about him choosing to do so. But he was in the first row of the suite level with a couple buddies standing up there cheering on Brazil, who obviously did win the game as expected, pretty handily. But yes, I think half the people, most of the game, were sitting there just turning around filming Neymar.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So, Chris, I don't know if you remember, but I put the over-under at, I think, 3 or 4 goals in this game. And you said, no, that's not going to happen. Well,
soccer games are typically low scoring. I hadn't really looked into Paraguay too terribly much to see if they were a decent side. I'm not very familiar with them. Turns out they're not. I think they were down 3-0 by the end of the first half.
They were, yeah.
It was probably 2-0 in 20 minutes. It was pretty quick. And yeah, I think we ended up with 5 goals in the game total. But Josh, just overall thoughts. Have you ever been to a soccer game before?
Well, not at this level. I've been to Seattle Sounders, which is just, the MLS games.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
No, nothing like this. This was really incredible. The atmosphere was fantastic. I don't know what the percentage was, but I would say 70-80% of the fans were rooting for Brazil. So
yes, for sure.
When the first goal happened, which is what I played, that was, the roar was tremendous, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to tell Josh when I was there, at least, is that I've been to plenty of professional sports, college sports. There is absolutely nothing like a professional soccer crowd or football crowd, depending on what it is that, country-wise that you're talking about. But soccer fans are so into games. I mean, just the energy that they bring, the constant cheering. And to make it even worse, Allegiant, for some reason, said no noisemakers, which is actually, that's extremely common for a soccer. Yeah, no vuvuzelas, no horns, no drums. But Josh, the roar of that crowd when anything was happening, not just goals,
lot of fun. Yeah,
just any offensive attack that was being built. It's unmatched. There's nothing like it in the world, just sitting down watching a top-class soccer match.
Well, one of the attempts by Brazil went off do you call it a crossbar in soccer, Chris?
Yeah,
the top of the goal.
I can't remember if it went off the crossbar or the post, but it did. Yeah,
one of them went off the crossbar, and that was really cool. And everybody oohed, it was fun. So, Chris, overall thoughts on the stadium, other than the getting in part. Did you like it?
Getting in, terrible. I like the concession offerings that I saw while I was there, although I do think that they were too overpriced. I mean, a bottle of water for $8 or $9 that's a little pricey, especially when you don't even get to keep the water and they just pour it in a cup.
Right.
That was kind of strange. I mean, the stadium itself, though, Josh, I like the layout. The views were good. The seats were extremely comfortable. I would love to see another game there. And we've even had a couple listeners offer us tickets to a Raiders game. So maybe next year we'll take advantage of that. The only other thing, Josh, I think we should mention was trying to get out of there.
Yes.
Which was even worse than getting into the stadium.
It was. Chris and I left, and we left a couple minutes early hoping to beat the crowd. And the problem was we didn't know where to go.
No. And so asking multiple people on the inside of the building, I think we stopped at least 5 or 6 people.
There were a lot of guesses.
Yeah. I mean, and people that are like, ask me if you have question shirts on. We asked a bunch of people, hey, if we want to catch a taxi to head out, where do we go? Maybe down there.
This is where the ride share is.
Well, the ride share, I think, is over here. Taxis, I'm not sure. Ask somebody. Eventually, we made our way safely out of the building. We get out towards the gates that we came into because we just kind of retraced our steps. Asked multiple people outside, hey, where's the taxi lot? Where's taxi pickup? I don't know. I think it's down that direction. We finally, it was actually difficult just getting out of the stadium gates themselves because there's no sign that was like, exit here.
Right.
Signage coming into this place and out of it, terrible. I don't understand that. I mean, it's a modern stadium. It should be much easier than this with big overhead signs that say, taxi and rideshare this way, this way. There was none of that. Nobody on the outside that was an event staff could tell us which direction to go. Finally, one person said, oh, just walk down this street to the corner, you'll hit it. We started walking down the street, Josh, back towards the gas station that our taxi dropped us off originally at. Nothing. There's nobody there.
Nope.
That's not where the taxi line is. We found a guy parking on the street there, and he's like, oh, no, man, it's on the other side of the stadium completely.
We're not going back.
It's 105, and we just walked a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile even just to get up to this corner. It would have been like 2 miles back. And he's like, well, if you go across the street to this gas station, maybe you can catch a ride share. And we said, okay, but he's like, but you can't cross the street here. There's no crossing. So we had to go back another quarter of a mile to go back across the street to get into that same gas station we got dropped off in. And I told Josh, I said, Josh, order an Uber and pray to God one comes.
And we did. We got lucky.
We waited maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Luckily, somebody happened to be in the area. They came and picked us up and we made it back. I think an Uber ride from that gas station to Venetian was what, Josh, about $45?
Yeah, it wasn't cheap. I think it was $45 right in there too, plus tip.
So my recommendation, go to an event there in a better time of year where you can easily walk. Even the people there will recommend that you just walk up to Mandalay Bay and then hang out for a little bit and catch a cab or whatever from there. In 105 degree temperatures, you're not making that walk to Mandalay Bay.
I'm not, that's for sure.
No, I mean, maybe somebody will, but I'm sure as hell not doing it. But Josh, we finished up at that point. It was late. It was probably 8:30 at that point. By the time we got back, we knew we had a bunch of stuff lined up for Saturday, so we called it quits for the night.
Yeah, that was it for Friday night. We just had that one crap session, maybe a little slots before we went. I can't even remember, but nothing after that.
No, yeah, from what I remember, we just went to bed. Saturday, lots of craps, a ton of slots. I'll say this, traditional craps at Venetian did not go well.
It did not.
Crapless went somewhat well.
Yeah, well, we had one amazing session at Crapless. So we played a regular session Saturday morning. I think we met up with listener Jordan. And of course, when Jordan's with us, we always lose.
Yeah, I mean, that was a guarantee at that point. And I think when we got done with that, Josh, we even did play Crapless over at Palazzo High Limit. It didn't go terrible, but we also didn't make any money. I think we lost a couple grand.
Yeah. So we took some time off. At some point, we went back to Crapless at Palazzo. Do you remember the sequence, Chris?
No, I can't remember what sessions were which at this point, Josh. But I do know we ended up back over at Palazzo. Boring Jack was there, of course. I feel like now if I go to Vegas, if I ever need to find Jack, he is at the Palazzo High Limit Bar playing video poker, and he's always there.
Yes, he is. And long story short, I ended up going on a beautiful roll at the Crapless table. And as we've talked about, I know there's lots of Crapless haters, and I get it. But when a table is going and you have a long roll, if you're playing all the numbers or if you're playing the extremes or whatever it can be amazing. Better than regular craps.
Yeah, crapless is always better than traditional craps on a super hot roll because you have all the same benefits that you have of a normal craps table with the ability to be buying those 2, 3, 11s and 12s with, great pace, low house edge, just great bets to make. And yeah, Josh had in a terrific roll. He made them all. He didn't actually hit any points during the roll because he came out on a 12. So there was no point made the whole time. But that 112 was enough to allow us to hit the features because he did make them all. We had every number you could imagine pressed up to very high levels. All the horn numbers were hitting other than 12 again. Right. Pretty consistently.
We had our 11 up to 500, I think, which we started at 50.
Yeah, it had hit 5 or 6 times at a minimum. Everything was getting hit like crazy. Just a terrific roll. Put us up for that session pretty significantly. And we were able to walk away, I think, doubling our bankroll, Josh. At least for that session.
Yeah, an interesting thing, Chris, we didn't talk about it before, but Chris and I had, not a good session on Friday, and then we started off with not a good session on Saturday, and we were talking, and I'm sure you all, if you're gamblers at any game, whether it's craps or anything or slots, I just want just give me one good session. Just one good session is all I want, or one doesn't even have to be good, but just one. Can we just have one session where we win? And so this was that one. This one really, it wasn't just a little winner. This was a big win. And Chris, am I right that after that, is that when we decided to go downtown?
I think we did, but I will say one other thing about High Limit at Palazzo. Dealers there, absolutely terrific.
Oh,
they are a great group. The box that works, it's been the same box every time we've seen that table open. It's like they don't rotate him.
I can't remember his name, though.
Over-the-top polite guy you'll ever beat. We had some great dealers on the table. I wish I remembered all their names. I don't. But they were all terrific people, very friendly, outgoing, so glad to have us back. We were pretty much the only people at the table that I saw the 2 days that it was open, Josh.
Yeah. A couple of things, Chris, that reminded me as you're saying that. So Michelle was a dealer that we had that we liked a lot. Byron, I think, was another one I remember her name.
Okay.
That we liked a lot. The table, the crapless table, was super bouncy.
It is. It's got it's got a lot of bounce to it. And Josh,
you guys know the way I throw.
During Josh's hot roll, I bet you he tossed at least 35 dice off the table, including sometimes both off the table on the fly.
Yeah, it was. I never threw both off the table on the fly. I threw them both into the rail on the fly.
Okay.
Which kind of counts. I
Yeah,
think one
I don't know if
kicked
that's any
back
better.
in. Another thing, this was really funny because I was throwing them all off the table. So yeah, we at one point were so desperate to win, we were timing our rolls. So Chris would actually start a stopwatch, on his phone.
We're like, can we make it to the 2-minute mark?
So this one ended up being great as far as time. It was like a 30-minute roll, but half of it was when the dice went off the table.
True. Now, one other thing I will say, Josh, it's also just a little bit strange, though. I love that table in Palazzo High Limit.
Right.
Because it's a brand new high limit room. It's a very beautiful room. It's got all the stuff you would expect. Great bartenders, good drinks, Fiji waters, and everything that you could want. Great cocktail service. But as everybody kind of knows, I think, craps players are usually rather loud and outgoing.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Hooting and hollering. And people that are playing high limit blackjack, especially high limit baccarat, they're usually quieter and more subdued in the ways that they do things. So during Josh's big roll, I'm screaming and supporting him like crazy. Right. The features are hitting and we're jumping and high-fiving and yelling. Jack's sitting at the high limit bar still probably 15, 20 feet from us. So I'm yelling back and forth at Jack about things going on during this roll. Josh, it's kind of weird. You have this dichotomy of this beautiful room and people being so somber and
proper
quiet and us over there. And I don't know if it fits in perfectly.
No, I agree. It's a little different, which is maybe why a lot of high limit rooms don't have a craps table.
Probably
is
is.
different vibe to it. But the one other thing we did here, Chris, as we were leaving, as we were coloring up, there was a guy all of a sudden yelled some obscenity, this game. He's playing blackjack in the high limit room. He's really
clearly
mad.
Did not do well.
He storms off, and the funniest thing happened. He walked out of his sandals.
He was so upset that he literally lost his shoes.
So he pivoted to walk out, yelling and screaming. He inadvertently walks out of his sandals, and of course, it's kind of humiliating. He has to then turn around and come back and put his shoes back on.
And there's Josh, I will say this. There is nothing that I hate more from casino players than jackasses like him.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Blaming the dealers and the game for what happened to you. That's not cool. We should not be doing these things. Kicking chairs and having them fall over when you're trying to walk away. That is never acceptable in any situation in a casino. I don't care what you're betting.
And we were joking with the dealers about it. And, everybody said, well, he'll be back in 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we even made a joke like Chris last time said, I'll never come back to the Palazzo high limit room. And lo and behold, we did.
Not because of the dealers or anything, just because it went so poorly. And of course, I was being facetious and we were right back. But no, this guy, he took it way over the top. But yeah, Josh, you're right. We got done with the session. Everybody's in a good mood at this point. And we said, hey, we're going to go downtown. We're going to go to Binion's and see if Jana's still working there. We're going to go to Four Queens and see the
baby craps,
the little baby craps tub they have there. And Jack was with us at that point. He's like, hey, I'll come downtown with you guys. So the three of us hopped in a cab and went downtown.
So we went to Binion's. We did not see Jana. And if you don't know, Jana is a dealer that was in Casino Confidential, which we've been talking about on CVTV over on the Patreon side. We didn't see Jana. There wasn't much to Binion's, I would say, Chris. You agree with that?
It's really on hard times right now, Josh. Binion's used to be, a staple downtown that had a lot to offer. It is pretty sad nowadays.
That said, we played some bubble craps and I won.
Congratulations. I did not. We literally circled. I mean, Binion's is not a large place by any means for anybody that's ever been in there. But we circled around their pitch just to see if there was any dealer that we recognized or anything. They had their cowgirl dealer. So we wanted to see, is there anybody we really want to play with?
Right.
There was not. 90% of the tables were not open anyways. We circled the place within 3 minutes and we were going to head out the door, but we said, let's at least throw a couple bucks into a bubble craps machine.
Yeah. So I threw 100 in and ended up finishing plus 40, I think, or plus 60. And Chris threw 100 in and finished minus 40 or minus 60, I think.
Yeah. I
Somewhere
think that's
in
pretty
there.
much it. Yeah.
The one thing, Chris, before we leave Binion's, they did have 2 tables going, I think. Both were $15.
Yeah, that was a consistent theme downtown in all properties that we went to. I don't know when all these properties thought $15 craps games on Fremont is acceptable. Unless you're Circa, that is not cool. $15 tables at Binion's is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, this was Saturday afternoon, so it wasn't prime time. I mean, it was a weekend, but it wasn't prime time. So then we went over to Four Queens to look for the baby crabs tub, and we found it. Unfortunately, it wasn't open.
I really wanted to play at it. I was going to throw a couple $100 at them and, do something just to get on the table and say I shot dice on it. But no, it was not open. That's the same thing we heard from listeners on our last episode. It appears they rarely have the table open, so I don't know why it exists.
Yeah, I was curious too. I mean, they had a regular table open, so maybe that's why. Maybe when the regular table is open, they don't open the baby craps tub, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, but like usual, Josh, Four Queens, not much to see there. It was a very quick in and out for us. I think we could have limited our downtown time to 15 minutes to knock out all the things that we needed to.
Yeah, as it was like 45 minutes. We weren't there for a long time. I tried to convince Chris to go on the zip line.
He did.
Yeah, I thought
did not take him
great
up on
for
that.
the show, but no, Chris was not up for that.
No, so we pretty promptly found the same place we got out of a taxi and got right back in one and headed back to Venetian. So we got back over to Venetian, Josh. I know we played a couple more sessions of craps on traditional tables. It did not go well. There was even a base dealer that we had on one table who was really irritating me.
Yes.
Because he was very friendly and outgoing. He was talking up a storm.
He couldn't talk and deal at the same time.
But he couldn't talk and deal, and he wouldn't stop talking.
Right.
So he was making mistake after mistake after mistake, wrong payouts. It just got so old. But I will say this, Josh, after that guy stepped off the table, we had a stick change. A dealer named Barb stepped up to the table. And she might be one of my top 3 dealers I've ever had, and we literally only had her for 15 minutes.
She was fantastic. So we had a good run for at least a little time on this table, and there was a don't player. And
there was?
A fairly good-sized don't player, and Barb was actively rooting against the don't player.
Oh, yeah.
Which made us
not
delighted.
hiding her emotions at all. We got to take down all that don't pay players' bets pretty quickly, which was nice. Josh actually had a decent roll. I had a decent roll. We were stringing some good rolls together, and it just, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And I had to make sure, Josh, to include her on my comment card because she's right up there with the Ricks of the world and Liz's of people that just really get it. They know what they should be doing.
She made the game so much fun. And we made a point of when she left for a shift change, we knew we weren't going to see her again. We said, thank you so much. And she was fantastic. So her name's Barb. She's a little older, which honestly, I'm not going to lie, we were a little worried when she came in that maybe, she wouldn't be very quick or anything like that. She was terrific.
No, terrific energy, extremely quick, smart woman, did a great job. I can't wait to play with her again. Yeah, I'll seek her out next time I'm there 12 to 8 during the day. But we couldn't stay much longer, Josh, because we had to get ready and go to dinner at Delmonico.
We had to get dressed up, get all fancy, go to Delmonico again. So as you remember, we went last time at Venetian also to Delmonico. I had maybe the identical meal. I think it was identical. That means I had a filet with, Chris had to teach me what how do you say it?
Au poivre?
Au poivre. I'm asking you how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. So I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. So Josh is big on pepper on his steaks. He makes that
pepper,
widely known to everybody.
Yeah.
So any sort of sauce that incorporates pepper and cream, and brandy or whatever it may be at each individual restaurant, it worked out really well. Josh loved the sauce that it came with and the way they treated the steak. Josh, I think it was better than last time, and it was really good last time.
So do I. I think that the steak was phenomenal. Our sides were great. I had French onion soup to start. It was fantastic.
And I'll even say, Josh, before we even got any of the food, the moment we sat down at the table, they brought you a birthday card.
They did. Yeah. Chris had said, when you booked the reservation, are you celebrating anything? Chris didn't want to say it was our anniversary. So he said it was my birthday.
So Josh got a card, and he even got a free dessert at the end, which he didn't end up actually eating any of because he wanted a different dessert.
Right.
But they did do a nice card in a small little dessert.
Yeah. And I will say after this meal, I wouldn't be surprised if next year when we do our best of, if Delmonico knocks off Strip House as my favorite Vegas steak restaurant.
I'll tell you what, Josh, I was smart this time. I didn't eat like all day, saving room for that
neither
meal.
did I. Yeah, we really saved ourselves, right?
And so I ordered dessert, and I think anybody that's been there would know that Emerald's banana cream pie is kind of their signature dessert that they're known for. It was the most amazing thing I've ever had in my life. I would eat that pie by itself just every day and call that my meal. It's so rich, but it's just, oh my gosh, it was amazing. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the meal. The service is always top notch. We probably had 5 or 6 different staff members that were constantly helping us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's no crumbs on the table. My water glass never got less than half full at any point.
Timing was
great.
perfect on things, you know, just the amount
Really
of time
was.
to get our cocktails, to wait. I had a pink drink, by the way, the same drink that I had last time. Chris
King
did
of
too.
Corona. I
King
remember
of
the name
Corona,
of it this time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, just really good. The bread was good. Everything came out at the right time. Just a great experience across the board. And Josh, it's one of those things that it's so good. I don't even want to try like cut. Is that what it is from Wolfgang's restaurant that he has there at the steakhouse? I don't want to try anything else because I know I can get an amazing meal. Why switch?
Now, one little thing that irritated Chris just a tiny bit was when we went to pay, we were going to split this and put it on our rooms because we can get it comped off. And Chris was not able to do that this time around.
To be fair, I'm not mad at them.
No,
I'm mad at myself. As we were walking to the restaurant, I even told Josh, oh no, I left my wallet in the room. I changed pants from shorts to long pants to look presentable for a nice restaurant. Forgot to bring my wallet with me. I even asked Josh, do you want me to go grab it? I said, it's probably not a big deal. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. It's not worth it.
One way or another,
we got
we'll
there.
get it figured out, right?
We went to pay at the end. We said, hey, can we split our check? And we're not somebody that tries to like parse out line items, be like, you pay for this and I'll pay for this. Restaurants don't like that. We don't like doing that either. We just say split it down the middle. We said, hey, can we do 2 room charges? Absolutely. Just need your room number and your ID. Well, of course, I didn't have my ID. It's in my wallet. He asked his,
he had his
the
player's
manager.
card.
I did. And he took that number. But he asked his manager at the restaurant if there was anything that they could do because he couldn't do anything. And the manager said, unfortunately, no. Without an ID, they cannot charge. And we've noticed that's very consistent at higher end places, casino-wise, whether it's MGM or Venetian, whatever it may be, that without an ID, they won't let the charge go through. Because we had the same thing at STK, Josh. I had my ID, but they aren't doing anything without a driver's license at that point. But yeah, just overall, a great meal. I cannot wait to go back there. It's always a great choice.
It was fantastic. Yeah, next time we're at Venetian for steak, I mean, I'm going to want to go there again. No question about it. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So move on to Sunday, Josh. At this point, we had taken a pretty big hit overall gambling-wise. Slots were not going well. No big hand pays or anything like that. Table games, other than that one crapless session that went really well, they hadn't gone well either. We had taken a big hit. I was pretty much ready to be done with Venetian and move on. We did try to play one more crap session there. We shouldn't have.
Nope.
It didn't help at all. It only got worse. So we were ready to move fairly early in the morning, probably 10:30 or 11, over to Aria. Josh, overall, just thoughts on the Venetian and the trip. For you, is their stock rising? Is it falling? Where do you see them nowadays?
So yeah, this is my second trip, as you guys know, to our second stay at Venetian in the recent history. Chris, it's going up dramatically. I really like the room. I mean, yes, it's a little dated, but both of the rooms I've had have been fine. If we can get over the technology part, I like the fact the thermostat goes down lower. We have a fantastic host who's just really friendly and welcoming and wants to make sure we're happy. The food options are amazing. I mean, anything from the food court. Good. I had one of the nights, I can remember which now, I went to the bakery right there that's attached to the Grand Lux Cafe and got a couple peanut butter sandwich cookies, which were amazing, and some Diet Coke. And of course, you can charge those on your room and that kind of thing. I really like the place. I like the fact, we didn't talk about this. I like the fact, different from Wynn and Encore, I like that you can go from Venetian to Palazzo and back easily. So they're separate, but they're not, it's what, 2 or 3 minutes?
I mean, yeah, at most, it's a 5-minute walk if you're going slow.
Yeah.
Venetian to Palazzo, it's a easy walk. And we liked it because, and we found this to be an issue at Aria, is that at least in the mornings, Venetian had 2 craps tables open and both were full. We could easily walk right over to Palazzo and they had 2 more tables.
Right.
And if we didn't like it there, we could walk back. So at any given time, we had 4 craps tables available, even at the slowest parts of the day. Fast forward, that we'll talk about on our next episode at Aria, that was a big issue. We came down in the mornings and there was 1 table open and it was full.
Yeah.
And so we just had to wait. And that's not ideal by any means for people like us. We don't like that. We want to have a table we can walk up to. I don't even care if the limit's higher. Make it $50 if you need to, but give us an option for a table to play at, because we wanted to play and literally couldn't.
Right. Now, the one difference is Venetian, we were there on the weekends. Aria, we were there on the weekdays. So that's a little bit of a difference. But At Aria, I mean, we'll talk about it more, but if there's only one table open in the morning and it's full and you want to go somewhere else, you've got to walk to Bellagio or you've got to walk to Park or whatever. Whereas Venetian, it's just that Venetian to Palazzo and back.
No, it's super easy. And the only thing else I mentioned to Josh while we were eating dinner on Saturday night at Delmonico was the one thing I do like is that the biggest knock against Venetian that I have, like if I'm trying to point out their biggest flaw in my eyes,
right,
it is the age of the rooms. Because they don't have outlets and, plugs and modern furniture and all that stuff. And they have tiny TVs in the room. It just looks dated. It is dated. They've already announced they're doing a major renovation over the next couple years. So if we can still stay in their good graces and enjoy our time there, 2 years from now, the biggest complaint we have is gone. It's going to have brand new rooms that are going to be beautiful and modern and fresh. So the place is really set up to be a contender for a long time.
I agree. I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to going back. I'm almost to the next tier status. Should make it on the next trip to Diamond, I think it is.
Yeah, no, it'll be really exciting. Well, Josh, after the break, we'll answer some listener questions, and I think the CV Big Wheel returns, so stick around. Josh, something a lot of people overlook is home security. They think it's too expensive, they hate the contracts, and just don't want to deal with the hassle. Well, I have a solution for those people that will make this much simpler. Cove Security. Cove is an industry leader in home security systems without any of the hassles that people are used to. You can self-install the system, there are no contracts, 24/7 support, and most importantly, it's cheap. With monitored plans starting at only 60 cents a day, how could you pass it up? The best part is that if you act now during their 4th of July sale, you will save up to 70% on all your equipment. You'll get a free HD camera, free setup, and more. There is absolutely no better time to switch. And Josh, did you notice that it seems like every episode we record, there's a new holiday that they're promoting?
I know, and I'm wondering, this episode drops after 4th of July. Does the 4th of July still go?
It continues for a few days after, from what I can tell. But here's a little hint. If you go, I guarantee there's still a sale going on. It may be 60%, it may be 65%, it may be 70%, but something will be going on and you will save money.
Perfect.
Cove was also named Best Home Security System of 2023 by U.S. News and World Report. Get signed up today by visiting crapvegas.com/cove.
That's crapvegas.com/cove.
Stay safe, my friends. Josh, tell me how excited you are about Zorkfest 2024.
I'm very excited about Zorkfest 2024. In fact, we were in Vegas this last week and people were mentioning Zorkfest and plans for Zorkfest, when people are arriving, when people are leaving, where they're staying, what Caesars property they're staying at, if they're going to stay at a Caesars property, all that kind of stuff. So yes, very excited.
So that's November 1st through the 3rd, and the base station for that whole thing is Horseshoe Las Vegas. Early bird tickets are still available, I think, through the end of July. Maybe it's August. But early bird tickets are available. It's $100 off normal registration fee. So if you're going, definitely get over there and get your tickets ordered right now. They'll get you on the list. Then all of a sudden you'll get access to all the dice labs and all that other stuff that Josh is somehow in charge of. I'm sure it's going to be a great time.
Yes, Anthony Curtis will be there doing the Blackjack Lab, doing some of the presentations. We'll have the Podcasters After Dark panel with the 360 Vegas group, with Danny, Vegas Introvert, with the You Can Bet on That guys, with me. I don't know, there's probably even more that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but it's going to be a great time. Contact Michael and his team at Travel Zork Travel. Chris can give you the exact URL because that's probably not it for Zorkfest, but they can hook you up with all the information on where to stay, how to get tickets, everything like that if you don't know already.
It's always good to plug something, Josh, and not actually give the correct link or anything. That's how you get people to go.
That's the way it works.
Okay.
I depend on you for the details.
Yeah, I hear you. So if you do want to get signed up, go to travelzork.com/Zorkfest today. Okay, Josh, listener question time. We received an email from Tim and Jean C. Hello, gentlemen. I first want to thank you for your show. My husband and I listen to it every week. Hey, look, another female. I listen to it every week the same day it comes out. Here's my question. Our son is turning 21 in August, and we are curious what your thoughts are for his first trip to Vegas, where he should play, stay, and I'm also curious if you had to recommend what table game to start with, what would you recommend? I don't think it would be craps. Appreciate all you guys do, and I will get him to sign up for Patreon when he hits 21. Thanks, Gene and Tim.
Thanks, Gene and Tim. We appreciate the new patron, too.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Is he going to be with them for his 21st birthday? Did she say?
It didn't sound like it. They didn't say that.
Okay, so I think that makes a difference.
Assume he's solo.
If you're there for your 21st with your parents, that's different than if you're there for your 21st by yourself.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking Cosmo. is a great
Cosmo's a
place
good
for
option.
a 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Where else are you thinking of, Chris?
No, I agree with Cosmo. I think we mentioned Planet Hollywood. That'd be another decent option for a first timer going there. I would definitely stay on the Strip your first time. I think you should get to downtown at some future trip and see if you like that vibe and everything, and go down to Fremont Street while you're there.
Yeah, if you're with buddies,
but
go
I
to
think-
Circa and
Yeah, you got to be on the Strip, though, I think, your first time. I agree. Cosmo, Planet Hollywood. I don't know what his budget's like, so I don't want to go crazy pricing-wise and say, oh, stay at Bellagio and view the fountains. But Cosmo's not cheap by any means, for that being said. Yeah, I'd go with that. If you're asking what game to start with, I do tend to agree. I don't think craps is the best first casino game.
And I think, I mean, it's a simple answer, but blackjack is not a bad game for first-time gambling at 21. That's where I cut my teeth gambling. I think Chris did too.
Yeah, I think blackjack or roulette is where most people fall on their first trip. Roulette's easy because they can red or black, pick a column, whatever it is they want to do. It's a pretty simple game. You don't really have to make any decisions. Blackjack's a little tougher because you do need to kind of know what you're doing. So for the first time, it can be a little bit off. I would definitely not walk up to a craps table I mean, you can play your first trip, but have somebody that can show you what you should be doing. Craps gamblers in general get really frustrated with new players sometimes. And this is coming from a guy, Josh, that on Monday or Tuesday of our trip, I spent like a solid hour trying to teach this Australian guy how to play craps with his girlfriend. And there was a lot of listeners at the table with us that can vouch for me being over the top nice about it, even though on the inside I was dying, like, please go away.
Yeah, you were exactly right. We were having a great roll, though, so...
It was. That's why I didn't fight against it. It caused me to miss some bets that I normally would make, and dealers, some errors that got made that I couldn't catch because I was so distracted, but it's okay. I tried to help them as much as I can. But yeah, I love it. If you can afford Cosmo, it is a great first place to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Gina Tim.
Yeah. Next question, Josh. A DM from Vegas Bun Boy, who you and I were talking about recently. His name's Chris. Vegas Bun Boy said, last trip, I turned 300 into 7,500 at my first step up to a table at Mandalay Bay. He took that up to almost 10,000. He had this great run with some other people that he was playing with. So here's his question that he gets to at the end, though, Josh. He's a British citizen. And he says, look, I'm trying to walk away with, more than $10,000 in cash. It actually worked out for him that he lost some towards the end, so it was slightly less, so he didn't have as many issues. But he knows how airplanes and security and TSA all are about, carrying more than $10,000 in cash. He's going to another country, so that's, customs issues and stuff like that. His question was, hey, look, when I get to the end of the trip, I got all this cash. Can I go to the cage and get a wire or a check or something that makes it easier to get this money back where I need to get it? He said, it's a pain. There's a lot of hassles with it. What can he do? So, Josh, initial thoughts about anybody. I don't care if you're a British citizen, a U.S. citizen. You end up with $15,000 or $20,000 in proceeds at the end of the trip. Is that an option to take a check or a wire?
You can definitely have the casino wire funds to your bank. I've done it before. You might have to pay a wire fee at your bank. Usually the casino won't charge you, or at least that's my experience. But they definitely do it. They get wires in all the time. They're happy to send wires out. Sometimes they can even write you a check. I don't know the specifics on that, but I know it can happen. But yeah, wiring is by far the easiest way to go if you don't want to carry the cash. You can also go to your local bank if you have a branch there in Vegas and deposit it. They could also wire.
They could. The only thing I will say about this matter, and yes, Josh, I've actually gotten checks before from multiple casinos when I was done because I didn't want to carry that kind of cash. The only thing I will say is that they will only wire out or give you a check for proceeds, for winnings. So if you come in with $15,000 cash on your trip and they show that you lost $7,000, they are not going to give you a check or a wire for $8,000 or $15,000 for that matter. They're not going to give you, period. You're going to carry home what you brought because this is bumping up into anti-money laundering issues here for the casino. They have to make sure, and we've talked about this before, I think, they have to make sure that they're not giving you an instrument and allowing you to convert cash into some sort of executable instrument like a wire or something else to avoid the cash issues that are, that come with cash. So they're not going to do that. So if you're a loser on the trip, it's a non-starter to walk up to the cage and try to ask for a wire out or a check. They're not going to do it. I'll tell you that right now. I've tried it before and been declined for many reasons. What they will do is if you come in, no matter how the money comes in, if they see on your account that you were a net winner for the trip of $30,000 and you ask them to cut a wire for $15,000 or $20,000, they usually will.
Yeah.
But they have to verify the play. And I'll tell you, Josh, it's worse than that. They usually have to call over the casino manager. They have to get a printout from their system of all your history during the trip. And the casino manager has to review it to make sure that what you're trying to cash out is truly winnings. An easy way around some of this is if you're a slot player, you could always ask for some sort of, check or wire for the winnings on the jackpot that you hit.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what we're talking about that generated a significant amount. If you hit a slot jackpot for $12,000, just ask them for a check.
Yeah.
You could do that. That's an option for you. But overall, just understand that they won't convert it unless we're talking about money you truly won during the trip. And don't think you can outsmart them because you can't. They know exactly what you did while you were there. And if you do try to skirt the system by not playing on a card or whatever like that, then there's zero chance that they're going to give you a wire or check.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that helps. I don't know the specifics about going into or out of UK. I can't be of much help on that.
No, I know nothing about your customs laws there, what you can and can't carry. TSA in the U.S. can stop you if you carry over $10,000, especially if you don't declare it. They can confiscate that money. That's been talked about ad nauseum at this point. But yeah, just work with the casino as much as you can, but just be aware that you could have issues. And I don't have a bank in Vegas, Josh, that I use, but it's not the worst idea if it's something that you're going to be coming across a lot.
Yep.
Final question this week, Josh. We got an email from Shannon T. If you guys could pick one band to have a residency in Vegas that has not had one before, who would you pick? Love the show. Keep up the good work, Shannon.
Thanks for the question, Shannon. That's a really good question. And while I'm thinking of an answer, Chris, who would you pick?
For me, it's pretty easy. I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan. I've talked about it on the show before. He's never, the band's never had a residency there before. They've had shows in Vegas, mini shows. I used to go all the time when he performed at Planet Hollywood, whether it was by himself or with Tim Reynolds or with his band. I used to go see those shows every Christmas time when he was doing that, but they've never had a residency there. They're kind of like, Josh, I don't know how much of a D&B fan you are. They're kind of like Fish, Grateful Dead. They're a jam band. They have a very large cult following. Yeah, I don't think anybody has a bigger, long-running summer tour than Dave Matthews Band. I think that they would kill it out there. I really do. If they would just say, hey, this fall, because they do fall tours and winter tours all the time. If they just said this fall, we're going to be out there playing at the Sphere or whatever it may be for 4 weeks, they would absolutely kill it.
I can't think of any. I mean, I'm thinking of lots of bands and things, but they've had residencies. I mean, I wouldn't mind Billy Joel, but he had did he have a residency? I don't know if he had a residency. I guess he hasn't had an official. He's played there. He's played Vegas. He played Allegiant recently, I think. Yeah. I guess I'm going to say Billy Joel as a residency.
Okay, that makes sense. And you'll love our next episode when we talk about our time at Aria, because we went to see Lady Gaga's residency. Yes. And we have a lot to say about that.
We do.
Okay, Josh, let's keep it moving. Patreon. That's patreon.com/crapvegas. Josh, what do we got new over there?
So last episode of Patreon, we did our CVTV. So this was episode 2 of Casino Confidential. Chris and I watched and live commented on Casino Confidential episode 2 and had a lot of fun. In this particular episode, there is a 16-year-old race car driver that goes to do some promotion at Binion's. And we were questioning the wisdom of having a 16-year-old do your casino promotion, but
and even beyond that, Josh researched her, found out what she's doing nowadays, where you can find her,
cyber stalked her a little bit,
and we may have even put out a promo code that doesn't even work.
Forgot about that. So that's what we did over on the Patreon side. We also announced this week that for our patrons, we're having a couple fantasy football leagues, so our patrons are excited about that. So for those of you that have our patrons and wanted to participate in the league, thank you. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's welcome the new members this week, Josh. We have Jamie F., Kyle W., who is a annual KCS, which is the best that you can do. Thank you, Kyle. We really appreciate that. Cody C., Andrew A., Nikki Q., Vegas Leisure, and Debbie H. So thank you all for signing up. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. No letters this week?
No. The what was it? The letter W last episode? I think we had W, right? M? I can't remember. No, all the Sesame Street members are accounted for right now. Okay, upcoming trips, Josh, August 16th through 18th. That is going to be my planned birthday trip.
Where are we staying?
As everybody loves. Well, hold on. I have to make sure I enunciate that for everybody because they love it.
Oh, birthday, yes.
Because that's what they like. It's
Did it
not
say
a
one more time?
birthday. Birthday is what they want.
What
that
meal
is
are we
be
going to
my
have
trip.
first thing in the morning?
I don't. Oh, breakfast? What?
You say breakfast.
Oh, breakfast?
Yeah.
I don't say that, do I? Anyways. Okay, so we're going to be out there. That's my birthday trip. We are staying at Wynn. Josh said, screw you, Wynn, on his birthday trip.
Nice.
So I'm not going to do that to them. I want to get back to Wynn. That's the place I want to go. So we are going to be there August 16th through 18th at Wynn. Really looking forward to it. I'm sure we're going to line up a couple things that are special. But one thing that we did say we were going to do.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a lot of people that didn't like our review of Delilah. That was very negative for many reasons.
Yeah, this was for my 50th birthday trip.
It was. Birthday trip. It's been a couple years since that happened. I think Josh is in his 60s now. So we are going to go back to Delilah, Josh, if I can get our host to get us a reservation and see if we can have the true experience and what we think.
Yeah, we want to give it another try. So that'll be a lot of fun. I will most likely be staying a couple extra days. And for those, haven't decided yet if I want to do Venetian or if
Yes,
I want
you
to do
have.
Sky Suites. No, actually, I haven't.
I'm sure you've made up your mind. Josh,
No, I
will be
really
Venetian. He says that, but go fact check me a month from now. Josh will be at
You don't think I'll
Venetian
do
for
Sky
those 2
Suites?
days. Nope, you're going to be at Venetian. I can
Oh,
already tell you.
man. I don't even know.
Okay. Friendly reminder, subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and to visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. Our new Big Dice Energy shirt is in stock and it's going to actually start shipping tomorrow now that I actually have it. So thank you for those that pre-ordered it and I will start getting those things out. Give it a look if you want to. Let us know what you think. Josh, we did it. We made it to the very end of the episode, which means that I guarantee the big wheel music is about to start right now.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Josh,
Vaguely.
spin the wheel.
Okay, what we got?
Oh, interesting one. Chris, when you fly into Vegas, do you know Shenandoah? When I'm talking about Shenandoah, do you know what that means?
Yes, that's Wayne Newton's former residence, but I
Yes.
think he sold it off 10
like
years ago or
5
something?
years ago, something like that. He sold it off. But
Okay.
when you fly in, do you see it? I'm always on the
No, I
lookout
never-
for it.
I'm never actually looking out the window anymore to see anything when I'm coming to Vegas.
Oh, I'm always curious if we're on that route that takes us over Shenandoah, Wayne Newton's place. But anyway, this is just that it's up for sale again.
Oh,
And
interesting.
For those of you that don't know, it's a 39-acre ranch. Its main house is like 57,000 square feet. It's got 50 horse stalls, a 100-car garage or museum, exotic animal facility.
It's got a lot
and
going on.
It's still got a private jet in the lot on the grounds.
Oh,
Like
nice.
when you fly over, I don't know if the jet still functions, but
Mhm.
anyway, it's for sale for $31 million. So
That's a lot more than what it sold for last time, if I remember correctly.
let's
I
see.
feel like before it was like in the $15 to $20 million range, but that was a while back.
It previously sold in let's see. The home and surrounding commercial property were sold in 2019 for a combined $10.53 million. The
Oh, wow,
property
okay.
previously sold in 2010 for $18 million. So it's had a lot of fluctuation.
that's
So
a
I don't
lot
know
of
how we get to
fluctuation.
31 now, but
I don't think, well, I mean, Josh, you can ask anything for anything.
that's,
It
that's
doesn't
what
mean
I
you'll
always
get
tell
it,
people
so-
about eBay things, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what it actually closes for.
I learned
But
that
that's
on-
interesting.
Yeah, I learned that on Pawn Stars. You know, people can ask anything they want and what you
That's
get
right.
for it.
Okay, what else we got?
Let me spin the wheel. Oh, Christy, this is what you already know, but I thought it was worth pointing out. Shin Lim is moving from Mirage because it's closing over to our new favorite, Palazzo.
I'm really excited about that because I like Shin Lim. I've seen him in person. I used to watch him on AGT. My kids even
Yeah.
thought he was super talented. I think that's great because I'm always looking for new shows at Venetian that we can, go see and
Right, me
experience.
too. That's why I
'Cause
wanted to
I'm
mention it.
I'm not worried about tickets. So I think that will be really good. I'm really excited to see it. But I'm much more excited about the fact that you had like genuine shock there when the wheel stopped on this story. It makes me think, Josh, that
I
you
never know
truly
what's
are
coming.
spinning a wheel. What is coming next? Who knows?
Anyway, let's see, it's going to open in October with tickets going on sale July 15th. So we have to be ready. We could do it. No.
We plan on doing something late in the year, either November
Yeah.
or December. So the next time we go back after my birthday trip, then we can absolutely go see it.
All right, let's give the wheel one more spin.
Go for it.
Hey, what are you doing in your room?
It's an audio daily double.
You know you're at the most magnificent resort on Earth. Hi, I'm Steve Wynn. Welcome to the Mirage. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you around. Show you just what you're missing. So stick with me, and I'll introduce you to the exciting, magical world of the Mirage. There are so many fantastic things to see and do here at the Mirage, I hardly know where to start. How about out front? When you arrived, you may have noticed our live volcano. During the day, it's a waterfall cascading into the lagoon below. But at night, it becomes a fiery beast, erupting
You gonna
every
miss the
quarter
volcano?
of an hour, shaking the earth.
Yeah, I hate that it
spewing
has to
flame
disappear.
and
I'm one of those
smoke.
people that thought you could have the
100 feet
volcano
in the air.
and the Guitar Hotel, but that's okay.
It was
Yeah.
part of our dream for the Mirage. to
I
be
honestly
home to
missed the
greatest
Pirates
theatrical
over at
experience
TI more than I
in
missed
show
that.
business.
So
Well, that dream
Me too.
has come true. Whether you're a child of 6, 16, or 60, if you love being completely mystified, then you won't want to miss Siegfried and Roy.
Did you see them?
I never did.
Oh, I did.
Unfortunately, I missed out on that.
We offer some guest services that you may not realize you need. That is, until the time comes. Like babysitting. Planning an intimate party at a moment's notice. We do our best to see that things are as easy and as convenient for you as they can possibly be. Well, there you have it. An overview and an insider's view of the exciting and magical world of the Mirage.
Is it just me, or is the way that he said all that just a tad bit creepy?
That's why I included it.
I mean, this was clearly too long to be a commercial because it was almost 2 minutes from what I could tell. That's not commercial link. So what was this from?
So this is from a clip that I found online. It's it's about 12 or 13 minutes, and it's the video that they would have looped in the room, in your room in
okay.
1991.
That
about
makes more
all
sense.
the things at the Mirage, and I cut out obviously a ton of. He goes into reviews of every single discussions of every single restaurant, and
Sure.
but yeah, I kept the creepy part in because it is just a little bit creepy.
It was a little creepy the way he was saying some of those things, especially when you know what happened in
Right,
Steve's
right.
future from that. And you're like, oh, okay.
Anyway, I thought
Anyways, Josh.
it'd be a fun way to wrap up the wheel for today because this will be our last show before Mirage officially closes on July 17th. So I thought that would be a good little way to say goodbye.
Yep. A bon voyage to Mirage. And I guess we'll see what the future brings with the new Hard Rock. Anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I'm really happy to be back from Vegas for a day and a half and rebuild the bank account just a little bit. But
Yep.
it's not one of those trips where I feel so depressed about what happened that I'm not ready to go back. I'm very excited to go back. One thing, we met tons and tons and tons and tons of listeners
We
on
did.
this trip. We're gonna call everybody out on the next show when we kind of finish up our discussion because we met most everybody when we were on the Aria side. Not everybody, but Jack and Jordan, I think, but almost everybody else we met on the Aria side. So we will mention you guys and talk about the fun we had on the next show.
Yeah, I think it was our Monday morning coffee dice session where the whole half of the table was CV listeners just kind of squeezing in, and we had a great time. We had a bunch of people come over and just watch with us for a little bit because they didn't want to play or, whatever. They didn't even like craps. They just wanted to come say hi.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very busy morning. We tried to do our best to make notes of everybody that we talked to and got to see that morning, but we'll talk about that on the next show when we have a little bit more time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
Quiet on the set. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 58 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Do I say something else here? What am I doing? We haven't done this in a while.
You usually say, Josh, what's new? Josh, what's going on?
That's right. Josh, are you excited for... no.
I'm not. Definitely not.
Okay,
So
so if
without
you're ready,
further
Josh,
ado, sorry.
so without you segue things, what are you doing stepping in there? Get out of that space.
See what happens when we go to Vegas and we lose all track of things.
Exactly. You can send us an email. That is podcast@crapvegas.com. You can message us on Facebook. No. I always say that.
I'm like, where are you
What is
going?
going on today? Have we not done this in a while? What? I don't know. Hold on. So I said earlier we went to downtown Grand looking for it. It was Four Queens. So I said the wrong place.
How you want to fix that?
I'll just record Four Queens and you can cut it in.
Okay, say we went to Four Queens. And then...
So we went over to big space here. Four Queens. There, use Four Queens anytime you need to now. Well, Josh, after the break, we'll answer some listener questions, and I think the CVB, and I think this
Four Queens.
And
Computer, how many entries are there for Darmok?
47.